Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Easter, or as I always joked as a child, along with my family, Easter. I always thought it was clever when I did that as a child. Um, the pros to having your last name be East, I guess. Sophie Beliski, happy Easter, you big show pony. Hey, Sophie. Allie, how's it going? Happy Easter. It's always funny. I always forget Easter is a thing until it happens, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Easter is a holiday that people celebrate. I have major hype for Allie later, but we'll get to the hype for Allie here in a sec. I'll let people trickle in. I once again have oh, you can't see that. There's an agenda for today's live stream, and then just like a general just chatting as well, talking about stuff. And I've set my thing to low latency, so it's not as crazy of a delay between when I talk and it actually shows on my stream. So that's exciting because that was a bit annoying before with the normal latency that they have. There was like a 15-second delay. It was outrageous. Nutritionist Liz, how's it going? Happy Easter to you as well. It is a beautiful day here in Indiana. I actually went for a run and I wasn't miserable. It was nice to just be out and about and see a bunch of other families celebrating Easter. Um, my family did something for Easter yesterday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to partake because it was happening in Illinois, but I got to see a bunch of cute photos of my nieces, and then my family doing stuff with them. But how's your guys' Easter? Is the weather nice where you're at? What are you up to? Are you celebrating it all? Um, Easter's always one of those holidays that I've never really particularly celebrated just because it is a bit of more of like a kid's holiday mixed with like a religious holiday, but I like candy, so not a bad holiday in that sense. Eternal, I think you're new to the chat. I don't know if I've seen your avatar and name in the chat before, but happy Easter to you as well. Welcome so much to the stream. Sophie Beliski said the Canadian geese are always thriving in the sunshine here in Calgary. Yes, the Canadian geese that you send to spy on me in the winter. Noel, how's it going? Happy Easter. It's been a while since I've seen. I think I recognize your username and avatar, but welcome to the stream. It's been a while. How's it going? Awaken Moxie today is more of East, aka Easter. Final form is fabled Eastist. Happy Easter, everyone. See, you must have missed when I made that joke because when I was a kid, I'd always put Easter as like East hyphenated and then I was really lame in like geography when people used to say like refer to East as the direction. I would quip and be like, "What? Did you say something?" The Eastist, yes, the final form of the fabled Eastist. We have got the Eastist and then Mr. Toffer Toff. Mr. Toff, is that what we decided last stream? Yeah, but in today's stream, some of the things on the agenda, I have a couple thank yous to say to some people. There are some life updates. I had a conversation with Shakira, which is one of the other YouTube people that have become one of my like in real life friends through the internet, I guess. And we were just having conversation about stuff, and it was interesting. So I'm going to talk about some of that stuff. I'm going to talk about is my channel dead? Because spoiler warning, it might be a bit dead at the moment. We'll get into that later. Once again, I have more advice. Today, I had a video go live talking about why I'm rebranding and relaunching my channel. Within that video, I introduce my logo and then I talk about why I'm creating a brand and stuff like that. So, we're going to talk a bit about, a brand and what that means. I have a video topic I want to kind of discuss with you all as well and get your advice on. There's some other kind of advice pieces, and I'm sure there's going to be other things that come up as we go through the stream. But yeah, those are some of the touching points. I always like to try to come into the stream with some talking points and agenda That way there's not a lot of like dead air and there's some things I can talk about. But obviously, I always love getting questions and interacting with the chat. That's the primary reason why I do this and why there's just chatting in the thumbnail, I think, is because it is a lot about like just getting to talk to you all and interact with you all as well. Lewis, how's it going? Normally we interact through Instagram DM, so it's nice to see you catch a live stream. I've seen your DMs, I just haven't responded to them, but I'm gonna get to them soon, I promise. Anna, hi, I'm only half here because I'm working on art while listening. Yeah, totally. Lurk away and work on art. I know you're probably working on your art commission, so I'm wishing you luck with that. Sophie says, "Do you have an IG for your art, Anna?" Anna does make some pretty good art. She works on the Briggs Meyer. She's working on a commission for the Briggs Meyer little personality type icons at the moment, so that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, well, we'll get to a- um, there's a couple of different people here on my thank you list. I'll get into that later on. Awaken Moxie, funny story. When I was little, the Easter Bunny was a myth I vaguely believed in for the longest time because me and my next door neighbor friend both didn't get Easter candy on the day. I vaguely believed in day of. Both our parents forgot and got it for us the next day, so it was easy for us to believe the bunny accidentally forgot our street and came back later. Oh, it's an adorable story. Yeah, I've never really believed in Santa Claus or Easter Bunny when I was younger. For whatever reason, I don't think my parents ever tried to convince us that they were real. Though we did get presents from Santa, but maybe I did. I don't know. I don't remember much of my childhood, which says a lot. But in terms of so jumping into some thank yous because there's some people I want to thank while they're here. Um, After my last stream, Allie, who I think is she responded in the chat earlier, but she sent me a donation through PayPal, and I just wanted to publicly say thank you for that because this is the first person to like donate anything to me since I've come back, and obviously like I don't do this for money, and I don't expect donations. I don't it's not a big thing to me. And so when people do go out of their way to send that kind of financial support, it just means a lot to me. So I just wanted to take the time to verbally and publicly acknowledge Ali for doing that. That is super sweet. She's a relatively new subscriber as well. So that's pretty meaningful. And then she reached out to me with this like super vulnerable comment on one of my most difficult videos talking about why I fell in love with my ex-fiance's eating disorder. And so Ali, it's just a really meaningful donation to get. All donations are meaningful, but it's just like one of those things I wanted to take the time and show appreciation for. The next person that I want, oh, Awakening Moxie says, oh yeah, yeah, Sophie's got to dip and do her training for her 787 plane. She's a flight attendant. So thank you so much for stopping by, Sophie. It means a lot to me. Oh, okay. So you've been on you've been around for a while then. You're just more of a lurker. Gotcha. Uh and then the other person I want to say a quick thank you to is Anna Real herself. She's also, well, not also. She is a relatively new friend in my life. It's been like what, like a month or two, but she got me this super sweet gift. My birthday is coming up, and then also I think it's to commemorate like my upcoming birthday and commemorate me coming back to YouTube because she's also a YouTuber, a little bit on the smaller side than me. But she also took a really long time off of creating content, and she reached out to me initially about that, and we started our friendship before I came back to YouTube, and we talked a lot about the struggles and adversities of being a content creator. So it was really cool because she kind of got me a gift commemorating some of that stuff, and it's gonna be really hard to like sort of show it here, but it's this. Okay, we're gonna try. We're gonna try. It's a compass, and that's my logo, which I introduced today. And then on the inside, there is, the compass. And then on the inside, there's a quote that says, yeah, it's not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves. So an incredibly sweet and thoughtful gift from Anna. So shout out Anna. It's really meaningful because the way I'm implementing it into my life, because I always like to find symbolism when I can, is I let it like I have it sitting on my desk, and every time I like start to like have these negative internal narratives of not believing in myself, I always look at it and be like, okay, other people believe in you, so maybe you should believe in yourself. And so I just wanted to take the time to show appreciation for that because I know Anna's lurking in the chat at the moment. So shout out Anna Real. I appreciate it. Oh, I couldn't tell whether Lewis was waving goodbye or clapping, but I think that's clapping. So shout out. Yeah, a super thoughtful gift, and really cool. And so I don't, once again, like, I'm not, my love languages aren't really like gift giving. It's like quality time. And so I don't really, I don't really expect anything, especially not from subscribers or friends. And so when people do go out of the way to give me gifts, I find it like, I don't know, unexpected and meaningful. And especially with like this symbolism behind it, I just wanted to take the time to thank thank Anna for that and also thank Allie for her support and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just it means a lot to me and I want people to feel appreciated because I feel appreciated and I'm big into like articulating those things. So I just wanted to take the time in the beginning of the stream while people are still piling in to say my thank yous and show appreciation. There's a couple other people if they show up, Layla in particular, that I have some thank yous and some hype to give, but we'll get to that when they get here. Um, yeah, and there's some. I guess we can start going into some of the life updates and just starting the stream in general. It's funny because I'm still super nervous, and every time I say I'm nervous, people are like, "Oh, I can't tell," which I feel like I'm getting better at not hiding it, but dealing with the nerves. So I'm a bit nervous again. And then yesterday, I forgot to, last night, I forgot to take my Abilify, which is my bipolar medication. And it wasn't like intentional. I wasn't like I didn't want to take it. But today, I've been feeling what Annabelle calls buzzy, which is like a bit hypomanic. And so I've been trying to manage that. So it makes my nervousness a little bit more intense. But some life updates. So Shakira is a friend of mine that is through YouTube at this point, but we caught up on like a FaceTime yesterday. We had this really long chat and we haven't talked to each other since January of 2022. So the very start. So about the same time I disappeared from creating content. And it was such a cool conversation because I got to see the perspective of her change. And this is something I brought up in my last live stream is I think it's such a cool idea that my life has dramatically changed in the last 14 months since I stopped creating content. And one of the cool ideas I had was like, oh, like imagining how much my subscribers' lives have changed as well. And so with Shakira, who's both a friend and a subscriber, it was really cool to get a glimpse in her life of just how much has changed. She has a whole different significant other. And then she was also give her perspective on how much I've changed. And so it's weird because I didn't really talk about it too much in any of my videos because once again, I don't really talk about my life too much if there's not like a direct intent for it. But with my live streams, I want to have a little bit more of a personal touch. But like, man, the last 14 months have been wild. Let's see. No, okay, I'm gonna if I mess this up, will you help me out? But Norlet, how's it going? Happy Easter to you as well. I definitely recognize your username and avatar, but I don't think it's you've been in the live stream since I've restarted live streaming and creating content. So thank you so much for stopping by and wishing everyone a happy Easter. That means so much to me. But yeah, like the 14 months, like when I disappeared, I was definitely going through like a mental health crisis. I didn't know I was bipolar. I still was like in the middle, like in the depths of my one of my eating disorders and nicotine addiction. I just cut out this person that meant a lot to me, but it was a super toxic relationship. I was still suicide. Oh, well, trigger warning. We're just going to talk about a little bit, get into a little bit of the weeds of some darker topics, but nothing too intense. Still in the depths of like depression and suicidal ideation and not really being happy with life. And it's just so wild because like over the last 14 months, like I got diagnosed as bipolar. I have nothing but really healthy relationships in my life now. I can't remember the last time I was seriously suicidal. My depression is in a pretty good place. I've this year, starting in January, I went and like dealt with both of my eating disorders, so I'm fully in recovery from both of my eating disorders, which is wild because these are things that have affected my life for like the last 12, 10, no, I think it's been 12 years since I first developed one, or maybe 13 years. So it's just wild how much has changed in the last 14 months, and it's just like something I wanted to talk about because I don't know, I was curious if other people had such dramatic changes in the last like year or so, or where your guys' life was at. And then it just makes me really hopeful because sometimes I feel very stuck in life and I can get really sucked into like the immediacy of things, and with just there are a lot of things in my life that are still not great, and I can get really sucked into like the presentness of that, of being like, well, there's like my finances and career and there's these other things I'm not happy with. But taking some time to actually look back on how much has changed, it makes me really hopeful for the future. Shepherd's voice, how's it going? Shalom and happy Easter to you, or happy Resurrection Day, as you call it. I thank you so much for dropping in again, Shepherd. So yeah, that's just like a quick. It was just like one of those things where I was having this conversation. It was really cool to get a perspective from both sides, like the perspective of someone that I call a friend and that used to be a subscriber, and just how much life can change for them, and how much more like grounded they are, and how happy they are, and a lot more stable. And then the same way, like getting their perspective and them saying like, "Wow, like I feel like you've changed a lot, and you seem a lot more stable, and you seem a lot less." Right in the edge of, whatever I was writing at the time. So just a quick, like, kind of wanted to talk about that quickly, and then see how other people's lives were, and how the last year has treated you as well. The next topic, just kind of blowing through topics here, is ever since I didn't really know what to expect coming back to YouTube. I knew that being gone for 14 months was probably gonna kill my channel, like in terms of like, I don't know, YouTubers always talk about this, but like the algorithm and views and all this stuff. And I knew it was gonna be bad, but I don't think I was like quite ready for how bad it was going to be, and just how much like momentum or progress I lost, and how much I inadvertently kind of killed my channel. And that's just been something that's been a bit hard to deal with lately, is seeing the realities of it. And I'm super grateful for like for instance, right now I'm super grateful that I have people watching me, spending time with me, especially on Easter. I'm super grateful for every single comment I get. I'm super grateful for every view I get. Um, but as I talked about my last live stream, I feel very torn between two different directions in life. I feel like I want to be a content creator, but I also feel called, I should probably chase something a bit more stable. And a bit of what's making those choices hard is just how much how much my channel is dead in comparison to when I stopped creating content. Um, and that's just been something that's been a bit difficult to deal with, is having faith that there's a long-term vision, and that I can rebuild, and that all the time and energy that I'm throwing into this is worth it. And I guess just like one of the things, more of a point of relatability, I guess, is I know that you all aren't content creators, or some of you are, but more so like getting in these positions in life where you're pursuing this thing that you feel called to do. And you're in that kind of period where there's a lot of evidence suggesting that maybe you shouldn't do it, or maybe that it's not a great idea that you're doing it. And you have to operate from this place of faith, and you have to have trust in yourself, and just how ridiculously hard that is when you're just so unsure, and everything, it just like feels like the wrong choice, but you feel so called to do it anyway. And then seeing the results of like how many, man, it's just, I don't know, it's just like something that I've been struggling with. And then trying to like not let that feed into these internal voices I have that are super negative, and like, I told you so, and you should just give up, and all this other stuff. And so that's just like another kind of topic that I wanted to bring up, because I don't really have a great video necessarily about it. I'm sure there's something I could pull out of there, but just wanted to share that is like I've been putting a lot of time and energy into this and trying to have faith that like it's going to pay dividends down the road and that I, um, one day it will all kind of build up into this point, right? Let's say, I think it's Elena. If I'm messing that up, please let me know. But thank you so much for joining the stream. You're a new name to me, I think, and so thank you for dropping by. My life's not changed in like the last couple years. Haha, kind of. What do you mean your life has not changed? Like in a negative way, feeling stuck or like dealing with the same problems? Uh, I under It's funny. I laugh because I also use a lot of like not self-deprecating humor, but I use a lot of dark humor to deal with some of the things. And so I guess I'm just imagining me also using some dark humor to deal with the way in which my life has stayed stagnant or not changed in the ways I wanted. If you feel like, talking about some of the things that have stayed the same or maybe not changed in the way you wanted, you're always free. Regardless, thank you for coming into my stream and being vulnerable. I appreciate it. High mileage helper, boom. Listening while mowing the lawn. Hit the like button for this incredible guy. High mileage helper is my childhood best friend Daniel. I love Daniel to death. He's also a content creator, very different niche than me, but is truly one of my best friends and one of my ride or dies, and the only person from childhood that I'm still friends with. Really amazing person. He's probably the only reason I got into content creation because he got into YouTube before I did, and I kept on waffling about it. And so, if you have anyone to thank for being a creator at all, it's definitely Daniel for pushing me and encouraging me and always being there during the moments of doubt. So, shout out to High Mileage Helper for being my rock of Gibraltar and helping me out so much. Yeah, it is an absolutely beautiful day. I'm so excited for warm weather. I'm so excited to not be freezing. I hate the cold. And so this whole next week it's supposed to be in the 70s and I'm living for it at the moment. Norlet says being honest about the journey and not acting like you have it all figured out is why I subscribed to you before your disappearance. And I think that's why a lot of people will find their way back to you. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, like I definitely don't have this figured out, and I'm just trying my best. I think a lot of other people are just like trying their best, and I think one of the things I've always wanted to represent with the content that I make is that like there are a lot of moments of like doubt and insecurity and not knowing and having to push forward and just having to trust in something. But that's the thing that's difficult is like when you're in these like broken states or when your life is not going the way you want it to, you have to like trust in yourself, but you're like kind of the reason you're in these positions in the first place. And that's a lot of what Eastbound was for me. Was that like saying like what would Jesus do? For the longest time when I was in these very broken states, I would literally, as cringy as this is to kind of say, I had like East, which is the conceptualization of my higher self or my like better self, and I would literally ask like like what would East do? Like what would this person that I want to be do? Because if I ask myself, then I'm just going to do the wrong things I always do. But thank you so much for that like kind reminder, Norlet. Ali says, I think it's about getting back into the algorithm's favor. I've heard YouTubers say even slight changes in upload schedules can have big effects already. Yeah, no, definitely. Like, eh, the algorithm is a wild thing, and it's so weird to have your life and kind of stuff dictated by like this anonymous, confusing, amorphous thing that people kind of understand. It also doesn't really help that right now I'm creating a lot of, which we'll get into. Another topic I have is one of my newest videos today was talking about the rebranding and relaunching. But I have this whole series dedicated to like the restructuring of my channel because I think long term, I'm thinking very long term. Like, I didn't just come back for a little bit. Like the year off, I thought about what is the next like year or two of my channel going to look like, and what is the next year to two of my channel going to look like in terms of what content am I producing, where am I taking it. So I have very long term and very, I guess, ambitious plans for my channel. And so a lot of this right now is setting it up, but like I understand that not a lot of people are like super interested in why I'm changing my channel. I know a lot of people are more interested in, which is fine because like unless I really really care about a content creator, for the most part I'm just here to watch the things I'm interested in. And so I totally get how in this beginning part of me coming back, like not everyone's going to be interested, and that's totally fine with me. I support that. Shepherd's voice says, "Thank you, Daniel, for being such a good friend to East." Yeah, no, Daniel is truly one of my best friends, and Daniel's also Shepherd. Daniel's also the person I referred to. Incredibly religious person. We've had so many respectful conversations back and forth about God, and he's one of those people that if you talk to him, he has all these crazy stories of God or Jesus like helping him out, and so he's also one of the people that I mentioned in my comment. And so although I'm not necessarily religious. Like Daniel's a big part of the reason why I believe other people believe is because of his own testimony. So, just now that you're both in the chat, it's just so funny because I've brought you up to each other in separate occasions. So the next thing I want to jump into is a bit of I feel bad because like the last few live streams are just me being asking for advice and picking your guys' brains. So I hope that's okay. But those are kind of the life updates. On a more granular level, I've been feeling very scattered in life and really struggling with ADHD and feeling very frozen. And this whole coming back to YouTube thing has been great, but it's been very overwhelming. And so, feeling very stuck in that sense and trying to find ways through it. But that's just how ADHD is a lot of being on the struggle bus for a long time and then suddenly finding motivation. Lisa M, how's it going? I was wondering when you would drop in. Thank you so much for dropping by the chat again. Awaken Moxie says, I typed a long thing, but you just mentioned it. Haha. So, yeah, hi. So, yeah, relaunch, rebrand content isn't something people on YouTube would search up like nicotine or self help. So, even if it may seem stagnant now, it's going to build the foundation for your future videos. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's all about the long-term thing, but it's one of those things where it's like so hard when you're in these like difficult spots where like financially, once again, I'm not saying this because I want donations. I'm not saying this because I expect you all to financially support me. I'm just a very transparent person, and when we talk about stresses that push us over the limit, for a lot of people there are financial concerns, and for me that's no different. And so it's really hard when like this thing I really love and put a lot of time and effort into like is now completely stagnated and died on me. And then I get a bit sad because it's a product of like I get a bit resentful. I don't know if resentful is the right word. It's like somewhere in between resentful and sadness and maybe a bit jadedness of like, damn it, like I lost out on all the potential and all this other stuff because of my mental health. And then I start to think like, why did it take so long to get diagnosed as bipolar? And then I start to think about like, well, all the years where my bipolar hid because of all these other extreme things. And I start to think about, right, like it's just like spirally thought into like why my life has been so difficult and all the cost of it. And then it's just like another one of those things, like this thing that I really care about is a bit of a victim to like all these mental health struggles. But yeah, I completely agree. I'm choosing to have faith in the long-term vision, and really trying to build on those skills of okay, nothing how do you motivate yourself when nothing intrinsically at the moment is motivating you, and trying to figure out how to push through that. And once again, like a lot of my live streams are talking about these things I haven't figured out yet or I don't have answers to. And whereas my mainstay videos are more about trying to present like something that I have figured out or an insight or something like that. And a reel with the pointing finger, yes. A Moxie with her brilliant brilliance. Shepherd Voice says, awesome. I will say it's not about religion, my friend, but relationship. I say thank you, Jesus, for placing a friend such as Daniel in your life. What a blessing. Jamie, how's it going? I don't think I've seen you in the live streams before, but thank you so much for stopping by. How are you doing? How is your Easter? Are you? I'm trying to remember if I It's been a while with some names, some of the reoccurring people, like obviously Anna, Lisa, Shepherds, uh, Ali, Lewis, a lot of these other people is like one of my favorite things is building a relationship with my subscribers or my viewers, and like that moment where someone pops up in the chat or a comment and I like, oh, I know that avatar, I know that name, I know a little bit about your life because of these super vulnerable things people comment. That's one of my favorite things. And so I really like seeing new names and starting that process of like, okay, like who is this person and how long have they been around and what do they relate to and so on and so forth. So thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, Jamie seems familiar to me too, but I'm not quite sure, and so I hope I'm not being offensive at the moment. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't want to say like I feel like I recognize you and then you'd be like nah, like I'm new, but yeah, I definitely feel like I recognize you. So thank you so much for stopping by again. So the next thing I kind of want to move into is, like I said, I did release that relaunching video today, or the big one. That's probably, well, it's like one of the three, I would say, major videos in this series of videos that I'm releasing, is this kind of setting the primary foundation for my long-term future, which is I want to change the way I create content, because one of the biggest things that's important to me is how do I serve you all? How do I actually help your lives? Because one of the things that was a bit distressing when I looked back on my older videos is kind of got to a point where I was doing a bit of a vlog where I was having all these like insane mental health crises, and I would disappear from YouTube and then I would come back. Excuse me. And then it was just like so much of like just updating about what's going on with my life, which I think there's value in, and I think people do, they do want to get to know people, especially if I don't know, there's all kinds of reasons why people want to get to know people. I'm that way with people I'm subscribed to, is like, oh, I want to get to know you and your life and the things you've been through, and I think there's value to that. But it was getting away from what I really wanted to do, which was to create content that more helped people directly. And so that was a big thing I focused on, was like, what is the audience experience and how am I helping them and how do I change that? And one of the things that I've Hi again, Jamie. Yeah, hi again. One of the things I've been really trying to focus on is like how do I help people that I don't know, right? Because that is a bit of a challenge. Is like when I look at my friends or romantic partners or whoever in my personal life, like the way I help them is I ask a lot of questions and I provide space and I provide support. And so I just don't have that option. Is like I can't do what I do with my friends, with my subscribers. Like I can't have these one-on-one conversations. Like even in a live stream, it's not one-on-one, it's many to one. And so it's a really difficult thing because I don't necessarily know what your struggles are and I don't know the finer details of it. And so that's a limitation. And just because it's a limitation doesn't mean I can't do anything, right? And trying to work around that limitation and try to create the best content that I can. And so one of the things that I really wanted to focus on was how do I move away from some of the self-centeredness of my content? And as I mentioned in the video, it's hard because like that's all I have to offer. Like I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist. Like I don't do research, I don't have any higher education, I don't read studies. Like I'm purely talking about my life experiences and presenting insights or presenting past mistakes with the goal of trying to transform my hardship into content that helps other people. So there's a bit of self-centeredness on that, but how do I move away from that in the ways that I can? Um, because like I said, I don't really want of like a vlogging channel, that I don't want something that's like entirely based on me. That's not why I created a channel. I wanted to help people in the ways I can. And there's many different ways I've gone about that, but one of the major ways is actually this idea of creating a brand around my channel. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but I want to make sure I'm up to date with chat. Moxie says, I've been hearing people compare entertainment, social media work to surfing. Creators will catch a wave, ride it, and then they must wait for the next wave. They will see others catch different waves while they're waiting. Yeah, I completely agree. There's like a lot of trying to like trend surf, which is something that I don't really want to do. Like I feel like that's kind of, I think that has value, but in the self-help niche, I think it can be a bit inauthentic to always be like sort of like catching these waves, or maybe not inauthentic, but it's hard because like there are these things that you can do to be a successful creator, but they don't really necessarily align with my goals or like my intentions as being a creator. And so it's a bit hard because like the way I go about it, like I wouldn't really recommend creating content the way I do because um there's so many videos in the relaunch series that talks about this. But um like one of the main things is this debate about episodic content, which is like standalone videos versus series of videos and all this other stuff. But yeah, I'm going against the trend a little bit on purpose, and I know that I am because I think there's value in that, and I'm excited to share those videos that talk about why I see that there's value. But I do acknowledge that I'm creating a bit of a problem for myself because there are these playbooks for like how to be a successful creator, and I might be going against them a bit. Moxie says it's valid to feel the way you do, and even if the break may have been affected your initial trajectory, I do think there will be more ways to build something new. Yeah, and Moxie, I really value Moxie's opinion because she's this really amazing shorts creator on our Instagram Reels creator, this TikTok creator. She does these really cool OCs. If wait, where's Awaken Moxie's? Oh, hold on, I gotta hype you up. Instagram. In with Facebook. Okay, gotta go to. There we go. Where is chat at? No, that's not my chat. So this is Awaken Moxie's Instagram. She's an amazing content creator. She does these really cool things around her own OCs, which is original characters. I find her really funny and endearing. She's one of my really good friends, very talented, has over 100K. She recently hit that. So I want to take a minute to hype up my good friend Moxie. I really look up to her because she is a successful content creator, although very different niche. And we have a lot of topic like back and forth about creating content and helping people. And we both really care about people. So shout out Moxie. If you want to go give her a follow, that mean a lot. But shout out Moxie for just being such a good friend, and she's listened to me ramble some, like especially back before I came back to YouTube. We've had very many long conversations about me complaining about like, oh, I miss it and I don't know how to come back, and she's been nothing but supportive, and she's another reason, along with so many of you, why I even came back. So I wanted to take a moment. I haven't properly hyped Moxie, but yes, she's great, and she's working on some really cool things in the background, and she's one of the more creative people I've met in this journey. And it was really special because when she reached out to me, she was so respectful, and just I had a bunch of negative interactions at the time. It was when I was like starting to blow up a little bit, and like she just had some of the most respectful interactions with me, and she's become one of my closest friends. So just wanted to take a moment to hype Moxie. um yeah. So that aside, nutritionist Liz, I don't see it as self-centered, but rather sharing that is helpful, said this on your latest video. Yeah, I saw the comment. I haven't gotten a chance to respond to your multiple comments, which thank you so much, by the way, for multiple comments. But Shepherd's voice, amen. That's what I said under his vid. Yeah, I think there's like a fine line to write. Like, I think sharing your testimony, as some would say, or sharing your story is really important. But for me, I always want to share my story with a point. Like, I want there to be like a point to why I'm sharing this thing, or like to try to drive at something to help someone, because that's what I want to do. Like, I feel very called to helping people. And so one of the things I want to discuss with you all to see if it makes sense or whether I'm crazy, whether I'm losing my marbles a bit, is this idea of creating a brand or creating this thing that's like bigger than me, which I call Eastbound. And the idea behind it is like, how do I elevate Eastbound, which is something I really care about, into this idea that represents something more than just my journey to my higher self? Because that's what Eastbound was initially about. It's like me being bound for this person that I call East, which is just my last name. A person that I came up with when I was in the depths of depression and suicidality, and when I was being self-destructive. And having that person East saved my life, both literally and figuratively. And it was a big thing for me, was to figuratively kill off my old conception of myself, Chris. And so I want other people to have that. Like, it has changed my life, having a higher self and being bound for that higher self and all the crazy things I had to do along the way. And I want that for other people. Like, I want other people to have this conception of themselves, the best selves they can envision for themselves, and to push forward and radically change their best lives. And how do I help people with that? And I really want Eastbound to represent this idea of like, if you're a part of my community, you're an individual that is like also taking up that journey toward your higher self, and whatever conceptualization that means for you. For everyone it's a bit different, right? And so I guess I just wanted opinions of whether that made sense. There was an analogy that I initially included in my video that I decided to cut out, but it's kind of like Steve Jobs and Apple, right? Like, when you think of Apple, you think of Steve Jobs as like one of the co-founders, but Apple also represents a lot of stuff outside of just Steve Jobs. And I sort of want that relationship with this thing that I'm building, where yes, like, I'm Christopher East and I will always be the creator of Eastbound, but how do I make Eastbound about something more than just me? And how do I make it representative of other people? And one of the ways is by being intentional about creating a bit of a separation between me and the brand. And so I just wanted quick opinions on whether that was nutty or whether it makes sense what I'm trying to convey and stuff like that. Wake Moxie says, I cosplay original characters. Yes. Thank you. But let us get back to the topic. No, Moxie, you deserve hype. It's funny because I don't know if Layla is going to make it to the stream, but she watches my streams. So every time I go on Layla, who's this another amazing subscriber that has gone on to become one of my friends, is that she's a Twitch streamer, and she's a really amazing Twitch streamer. She has really great content. Let's see. I've got to hype her up too now. Let's see. Following. I'm just gonna throw this out for kicks and giggles, but Layla, as she's called, but Layla is this really amazing Twitch streamer, and she creates this environment sort of similar to me, where anyone's opinions and thoughts can matter as long as they're respectful. And this creates kind of this very inclusive environment, and talks a bit about mental health, and is very vulnerable. And so kind of a similar vibe to what I'm trying to create in my own streams. But every time I go to her stream and say anything, she spends like a solid 2 minutes hyping me up, and it makes me wildly uncomfortable, but I feel bound and determined to do that to all my friends. So shout out Anna for getting me the gift. Shout out Ali for the donation. Shout out Moxie for being such an amazing creator. Anna Real says, I've struggled with that a bit with my brand. Wanted to use my name for when I write books someday, but I've wondered if I should have it separate from myself, especially if it expands or when I die. Yeah, it's so weird, our naming things and trying to create brands and trying to create these things that are bigger than us. And how do you do that effectively, I guess? Nutritionist Liz says, that makes sense. Spreading your wings is necessary for growth within and for the channel, I think. Moxie says, all of us in the chat are starting to become the Spider-Man meme of hype. Yes, indeed. I love that you guys hype each other up and interact with each other. It means a lot. But yeah, like, so I don't know, the brand thing is just like a tip of the iceberg. Like I said, it's not about selling anything. Like, I'm not gonna not create like a coffee line or like a clothing line or anything like that. It's purely about because one of the cool things, there's many cool things I can do once I create a brand, which let me bring that up. Okay, sorry. Once I create a brand, one of the big things is this series of videos I call core ideas. And core ideas are like one of the ways I want to make my content more audience centric is to give my audience like the tools and ideas and philosophies that have saved my life and like changed my life for the better and allowed me to get to this place I never could have imagined myself in. Albeit I have a lot of room left to grow, but that doesn't mean what I accomplished isn't amazing, because it is. So the core ideas series is where I go into depth about, like what are the different philosophies or ideas I used to get out of really difficult situations, and how do I give that to my audience, and how do I show them how to use these tools in their own lives. And so one of the first ways I'm trying to like create a bit of separation is like, well, okay, I have this thing called Eastbound and I want to make it into something bigger than me. What does that mean? And so the first way I'm going to do to flesh that out is like, okay, well, this is what Eastbound represents. So for instance, we've all, I don't know if we've all heard this phrase, but there's this phrase that's like the unexamined life is not worth living, which comes from Socrates, I think. Yes, Socrates. But I have this phrase called like the unvivisected life is not worth living, or I live a vivisected life. And vivisection means to cut into a living thing. And so I have this personal philosophy where I take this metaphorical scalpel and I cut into my life and I like go searching for the things that are damaged and broken. And I chose that because it's a bit of a gruesome imagery, this idea of taking a metaphorical scalpel kind of in this like surgical way. And that's one of the core things that have like changed my life, is like getting really comfortable with these really intense introspections and like looking at like the damaged parts of me and learning how to be comfortable. So that's one example. There's another example, like I have this way of working on my own life and trying to create space for others that I call the workbench model. That's something else that's in the series. And so I'm really excited for those videos, because those are going to be like the direct ways that I try to give my subscribers these tools they can use in their own life that have radically changed my life. So that's one of the first ways of creating this separation that I'm super excited for. Um, let's see. One Bike, One World is one of my three favorite non-progressive politic channels. The other two are Eastbound and Chubby Emu. Check out his branding. I'll message you on this. Okay, I'm gonna pull up One Bike, One World off to the side. Oh yeah, oops, all. Yeah, that would mean a lot. Like any kind of feedback, and this is like a progressive. Like I'm not gonna go too crazy with it. Like also having a brand, I have a logo, which goes into a piece of advice I'm gonna ask for here soon. But yeah, like a lot of it is like, how do I put you all at the center of my content? Like how do I step away from myself a bit, and how do I help you all, and how do I understand what you're struggling with? Because at the end of the day, right, like I just remember what that was like. I remember like suffering so intensely and like looking for answers and feeling really dismayed at how few answers I found when I like, how do I deal with these things that I'm going through? And obviously, like at the end of the day, who am I? But if there's anything I can do to add to that, then that would mean the world to me. So the next piece of thing I wanted to talk about, yeah, and I'm real like creating the content you wanted to see. Exactly. That's the reason I became a content creator. Is I saw this huge void of people talking about really ugly things, and I felt like it was a void that maybe I could fill, and whether I've been successful in that or not, we'll see, I guess. Okay, so now that I have a logo, this is my logo. Super excited about it. Love my logo. The thing I wanted to ask about, to get a quick opinion, a quick gauge, is for my avatar, like the circular thing that goes with my channel. Should I? This is my current avatar. This photo of mine that I've used relentlessly. Excuse me. So should I go from this, which is my current avatar, which kind of puts a face and like a person to the channel, or should I switch it over to my logo? I'm very torn. I'm very 50-50 about this of which one is more appropriate. And I just wanted to. Oh, thank you so much, Noel. Did I? Let's see. Noel, have you? I don't think I've said hi to you yet, and I don't know if you've chatted yet. But thank you so much for dropping into the stream. I definitely recognize you. It's been a long time. How are you doing? Thank you so much for dropping by. Yeah, I like my logo a lot. It's really cool to have like a logo for like a thing I'm building, and like I mentioned this in the video, but I had the I had this logo. I paid for this logo and had it finished in like July July of 2021. So I've been sitting on this for almost 2 years because it was really important to me. My logo and my channel is obviously really important to me. And this idea of maybe creating something bigger around my channel was like in its infancy. And so even though I've had this forever, the reason I haven't done anything with it was because I wanted to wait for the right moment and really be intentional about it. And so it's really cool to finally release this because I've been looking at it and I've had it for the longest time, and now I'm going to finally incorporate it into my videos and into my thumbnails, and it's like representative of this kind of idea that I'm building. So yeah, if you guys have any opinion on which one makes more sense, whether to have me, my face as my channel avatar, or whether my logo, I would appreciate any guidance on that, because like I said, I'm perfectly split 50-50. Noel says, I hope I'm saying that right, by the way, Noel. I'm doing good, glad you're back streaming. Yeah, I'm so happy to be back. I'm so happy that I have people come in and say hi. I'm so happy I have anyone spend time with me. I hope your Easter's going well. I hope the weather is great wherever you live. I have Now that the weather, it's funny, I always think I don't really get affected by the whole like seasonal affective disorder until like the first true warm days come along, and I feel like an entirely new and different person. And so with this streak of like in the high 60s low 70s that's been going on in Indiana, I have been thriving at the moment. I got feedback on this before, but I'm definitely going to start incorporating my logo into my thumbnails, and I'm going to start incorporating my face a little bit less into the thumbnails because as I talked about last time, or maybe the time before, it feels super cringe to make these like YouTubery faces when there will be times when including my face will be appropriate, but there will be a lot of times where it's not necessarily appropriate, or otherwise it just feels a bit like forced in. And so using my logo to help denote and visually separate my videos is what I'm super excited about. Lisa M says, "What question did you ask?" I'm sorry. So here's my current avatar. This is what it currently shows up by like Eastbound, my channel name. I was wondering whether I should keep this, which is my face, I guess, or switch it to my logo. I was personally gonna change it to my logo, but I just wanted to make sure that if anyone had any opinion or any idea about which one is better, that is it. Awaken Moxie says, I feel like the majority of creators I'm scrolling through do have their faces as an icon, even if they cover various topics. Also, the logo might be too small in that format. I'd vote for face, but if you want to test out the logo, that would be perfectly fine too. See what you end up liking more. Oh yeah, I feel very torn. Uh, I think maybe it's another thing that's a distant plan of mine. I do have a second channel that I'm planning, um, that I'm really excited about. I think maybe when I have two channels, I might use maybe different logos to help identify between the two, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to keep my face at the moment. I agree that you do what you want. I personally would default to face even in a maybe even an updated face, because a logo kind of reads as edu content to me. I think a face is more personal. I think that's a really good point. I really appreciate your feedback. Because the other thing, while we're here, yeah, perhaps face then logo with cover photo, where there is one. Shepherd's voice says, just an observation. I think it would be cool in your logo also would be to have a little cartoon east dude walking towards the east along the shoreline with hiking gear on. Ooh, like a small little me. That is something to consider. I haven't thought about that. I might actually look into that, and I do know artists that maybe can help me out with that. Hint, hint, wink, wink, Anna. But one of the other reasons having a brand is so exciting to me, and I've talked about this a bit, is this is would be my tentatively, who knows? This would be tentatively the logo for my second channel that I've been working on, kind of in secret, which is called Eastbound Embodied, which is a channel about eating disorders, a channel about food related issues, body image issues, and for me, that is something I'm hugely passionate about and something that I really want to finally start making content on. I haven't been able to for a variety of like trauma based reasons. And so, one of the cool things about having a brand is I can have offshoot channels like Eastbound Embodied. And since my live stream is just like a core group of you all, I think it's fun to share some of these more distant plans with you all. Yeah, so that's another thing that I have in the works, and so I think having a brand has opened up all these doors that have been really cool for me, and exciting. How do I go? Shepard, just thinking out loud, Anna says, oh my god, a little east. Yeah. Lisa M says, oh, also if I saw a video of you and was like, where's that dude? Uh, Lisa M says, "Oh, also, if I saw a video of you and was like, where's that dude? There's a situation where I couldn't recognize based on a logo, not me personally, but a new person." Sorry, what do you mean? Where's that dude? Like, where did his videos go? What exactly do you mean by that? Maybe, Lisa, I always have these very intense blonde moments with your comments, and it's not that you don't make sense, but I sometimes struggle to make sense of them, and it's on me. A nutritionist Liz says your face draws me in. If you could incorporate your face into your logo, that would be great. Um, yeah, maybe there's a way to do both. Ali says, I think I would prefer your face too. I've always liked the more personal side of your channel, but I understand that you want to move away from that a bit. Yeah, not too much. Like my channel's always going to be rooted in my experiences because that's all I have to give. It's just I want to move away from like the more vloggy aspects of my channel, which is, but that's why I wanted to have live streams, and maybe I'm going to create like dedicated vlogs because I think having that more personal touch is important, to build that relationship with your audience. And so I'm not trying to get rid of it entirely. I just want my main videos to be a lot more about directly helping the people that view them. Noel says, "Yes, I would love a channel focused on that." Yeah, it's one of my hugest passions, and ironically, I have a lot more I have a lot more ideas for that channel than my main channel at the moment. Or it'll be really fun to niche down in a channel and have it be specifically about food and body and eating disorder stuff. I can't wait to start that channel. But as I mentioned in my video that I released today, I just came back to this channel. So I want to make sure I'm in a really good place with the videos I'm uploading and I'm being a really consistent creator. And then I want to launch that second channel, and I'm so excited because especially about eating disorders is something I'm hugely passionate about. Um, and I think on very humbly, I think I have a lot of like really unique and interesting insight into that topic because I've been on both sides. Like I've watched someone nearly die from an eating disorder, and I've nearly died from an eating disorder. So can't wait for that. I'm really trying to push towards creating that content one day. Oh, okay. Hold on. Nutritional says, I know it's your video both from the logo, but especially from seeing your face on the lip photo or whatever it's called, like on the thumbnail. And then Lisa M says, I mean, like if someone looked for your channel. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Like someone like looking for my channel. That makes a lot more. See, it's not you, it's me. It definitely is me and my inability to understand. See, Shepard's voice gets it. He says, in other words, Lisa M would like you to use your face. Like if I ran into your nicotine video and hadn't seen you before and was looking for your channel, I wouldn't know Eastbound was you. But if I saw your face, I'd be like, oh my God, there he is. Yeah, that makes, see, you make perfect sense. It's entirely me. I've accidentally lost people's channels before if I was watching a random one off, and I can see how that could happen more if your logo wasn't your face. No, I think it's me. I don't make sense often. Also write long comments. Sorry, I'll try to be shorter. No, I like long comments. I really like engaging with you all. So please, Lisa, every time on live stream, I gotta tell you, keep being you. I like how you've engaged with me so far. You're not doing anything wrong. That was supposed to be clip laugh loud. I'm typing on a keyboard on my iPad. Yeah, the keyboard on the iPad is atrocious. Lisa M says, I mean, that person can also check their watch history, but there's some situations where that might not be possible. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think that's another reason why I'm trying to push for branding is that like the channel, a lot of the channels I follow, like out of the corner of my eye, I just know that it's like one of their videos, and I get very excited because of like the colors they use or like the layouts or stuff like that. Because like let's see. Yeah, because there's like some thumbnails where it makes a lot more sense to have me in it, and other ones where it's just like not really off the top of my head. Um, Anna says I lose people all the time on Twitter because they change their profile photo and I don't remember their name/handle. Yeah, okay. I feel like I've been convinced solidly to keep the face for now, and I think that's what I'm gonna do and just incorporate my logo into other places. Branding also helps too. It helps to have recognizable thumbnails, and when people change them, I'm subconsciously don't realize it's them as easily. Exactly. Nutritionalist says exactly right now, right away. I know it's you. Really like the new additions too, though. Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. Uh, Lisa M says also I was being more gently self-deprecating, but it didn't come across correctly. I do love some good dark and self-deprecating humor. I am the king. Well, I don't know if I'm the king. Hold on. I got a real meta. I was gonna say I'm the king of self-deprecating comedy, but then I started being self-deprecating about my ability to be self-deprecating. So that got real meta for a second there. But yeah, it's hard without the tonal indicators. Okay, so cool. Um, the next kind of thing I really wanted to quickly ask for advice for, since you guys are all so amazing and great, is that the next video I'm working on is going to be my new channel intro, which is going to be titled something like Why I Created Eastbound and what it stands for. And let's see, I can pull up the script. Oh, quickly, here's like so this is going to be my. There's another video I'm working on called "Why Abuse Compels Silence," and so this is a thumbnail that's a great example of when it makes sense to use my face. And so when there's moments like this where it makes a lot of sense to include me, like this is a great example of like a like the perfect kind of thumbnail combination to like have a hook where it's like, okay, like yeah, it makes sense. But then there's other videos where like the burden of mental health on chasing success, right? Like like I think in the video I'm just like this or making some kind of YouTube face. So I'm going to try to ride that balance of making sure to have something identifiable when I can. But let's see. Yeah, so here, the next video that I'm working on, once again, it's a part of my rebrand and relaunch series, is why I created Eastbound and what does it stand for. And so, real quickly, what I wanted to ask was like, what would be some of, if anything, what would be some of the questions that you would think is important to answer? Like, what are some of the touching points? Like, so for instance, I go through, like why I initially started being a creator. I talk a little bit about like the things I've been through. Um, why did I name my channel Eastbound? The purpose of my channel. Why did I transform Eastbound into a brand? Stuff like that. So I didn't know if you guys had any insights into like what would be a valuable thing to cover in this. It's going to be my channel intro. So like on my channel page, and like this is going to be hopefully the thing that stands long term for this thing that's going to introduce new people into this, what I'm trying to create. So if you had the organization. Uh, if you had anything off the top of your mind that might be important to you all for me to cover, I would love any advice like that. Let's see. Also, I think it's important to have a similar style of thumbnail because the style stands out to me the most personally. Yeah, some people have really great branding and style, and it really helps out a lot. Awaken Moxie said the organization. For someone with ADHD, I try my best to be organized, but my life is a lot of pure chaos, truthfully. Yeah, so that's gonna be my next video, and then after that, I've been thinking about maybe taking a. I was gonna talk about my new thumbnails, but I really want to get through these videos, so I think I might skip that video, even though I said I was gonna make it. Um, or some other things. From what I can see, I feel like those are good points for an intro. All right, thanks. Oh, I just okay. I hit like a random wall of like nerves just now for some reason. I don't know why, but maybe it's because of my medication. But I'm feeling a little off at the moment, which is not so great. What's the next thing? Yeah, so I'm super excited. My next video is going to be why I created Eastbound. That's just to kind of for the long term future of my channel, and then after that, I'm going to probably skip the explaining my new thumbnails video because it would be like an 8 minute video just talking about some of the changes I made. I don't know if that's super important, and I feel like I'm already kind of like losing people. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this like rebrand and relaunch because I understand that a lot of people aren't necessarily interested in it. I would much rather get along to when I can start talking about the things people do actually care about. That, yeah, that understandably do care more about. So the next video I'm really excited about is talking about like this huge problem I see within self-help content that makes YouTube videos really shallow. And so I found two major problems with self-help content in general. Actually, that would be a good question. Krista, how's it going? You're new to live stream. It sounds like maybe you've been around for previous videos, but you're new to me. In this period of me coming back to live streaming, thank you so much for stopping by and saying hi. It's good to see you as well. How's Easter going? But yeah, so the I'm really excited to talk about these two major problems I found with self-help content as a whole. The second one's really cool because it would be easy to pick out these like low-hanging fruit because man, there are some people that do self-help content and it is bad, or unethical or unmoral or all these things. But the problems I found have nothing to do with that, and they actually get a lot worse the better a creator is. And it's these really fun thought pieces on like how do we help people and like what gets in the way. And so those are two videos that I'm really excited about. Aw, hi. I've been following you for a couple years now. It's been my first live with you, so that means you're like an OG, Krista. Thank you so much for stopping in and saying hi. I People are gonna get so tired of me repeating this, but I say this in every live stream, and I probably will continue to. But it really means a lot to have people stop in and build a relationship with me because it really helps me to get to know my audience and my subscribers, and um, it makes a very lonely thing be a little less lonely. So thank you for your time on this Easter Sunday. Oh, dude, Lisa's so nice. Aw, wow. So how nice. Uh, wow, how nice. So nice to have you here, Krista. Okay, is it Lita or Letta? Hi, I'm gonna butcher this. I really am awful with names. So is it Lita or Letta? But regardless, you've been so nice with your recent comments. Thank you so much for stopping by into a stream. I really appreciate your feedback, and you've given me a lot to think about. You've been really helpful with that piece about maybe trying to have my content be broken up by a bit more than just talking head. So I appreciate your recent comments. I immediately recognize you, and I really value the. Oh, so Lita. I think I'm saying it right now. Lita. But yeah, thank you so much for your recent contributions. I really appreciate it. How long are you going to be live? I have to go for a little bit. I'm gonna try to stream until like 7ish. I'm trying to get better at streaming. This is another thing I want to talk about in the agenda, but like I'm trying to get better at streaming for long term because being a streamer might be something I want to explore in the future. But yeah, I'll probably be streaming until 7ish. So if you'll be back at some point, I'll see you when I see you, and if I don't, have a great day. Yes, great. Great. Thanks for accepting the feedback. Oh, of course, I love getting feedback. Jamie Maxhold says Eastern time. Yeah, 7 Eastern time. So I'll probably be streaming for like another 45 minutes or so, or maybe longer. It just depends. Krista and Lita, if you don't mind me asking, what was like the video of mine that brought you in? I was like asking because I talk about so many different topics that it's a point of like curiosity and just kind of generally helps me understand like what brings people in. Just because like I said, I do talk about so many different topics here on my channel, sometimes chaotically, and I'm trying to get better at being a bit more organized with the topics that I discuss. Use compel silence. Okay, so I think the next thing, Krista says, started with your near-death experience and stayed for your philosophy and mental health journey. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to leave your answer. I always forget. I always forget that I did the near-death experience video, but that video was a really cool one to make and really interesting. The feedback I got from people, it was probably the most divisive video I've made. Was the near-death out of all the ones I've made. The one I got the most wild responses on was definitely my near death experience, where it would like range from wildly like wildly religious, which is okay, of course, um to people like saying I like what I saw was like Satan or something, which once again wildly interesting to me. All the way to like people saying like I faked it, to like people taking me at face value. And so it, it was interesting. Definitely the most divisive video I've ever made, and I didn't really expect it to be. But for the most part, I'll talk about these controversial things, and I'll get like a lot of support. But it was kind of a cool experience to see such a wide range of opinions talking about my NDE. So I guess the next thing that I wanted to jump in, unless people had some other suggestion, was talking about streaming. And um it's interesting because a lot of the streamers that I watch, they're normally Shepherd's voice says, I have to make a phone call and may be back. Just wanted to let you know also I this whole time I have been saying I am so sorry. I am having a massive embarrassment moment here. I should not have assumed. I I feel so silly. I am so sorry for mispronouncing you this whole time and making wild assumptions about your gender, and I should be more careful about that. Thank you so much for finally correcting me. Uh, if you don't make it back, thank you so much for putting up with me being silly this entire time and being so kind, and it means a lot. Thank you. I feel like I'm I feel like I'm bright red right now. And it's a good example why you shouldn't make assumptions. You're fine. It's not the first. You're so gracious. You truly are the shepherd's voice for not roasting me. Uh, but that my embarrassment aside, the next thing I kind of wanted to touch upon is I don't know if you all watch streams very often. But like when I watch people streaming, they're normally like reacting to something, and I don't really plan on doing react content, and so I didn't know because a lot of like what I want to do is like just have conversations with people and open up these things. And one of the things I was thinking about was someone made the suggestion of like wanting to see conversations with my friends, and so I think maybe from time to time I might start trying to include other people on my stream. I've done that before. I've had one of my old friends, Nicole, on the stream. But maybe every once in a while, having like maybe a friend of mine come on the stream with me and us just talk about life or maybe questions that people have. I'm also thought about maybe doing something where I do like interviews or allow other people to tell that like subscribers of mine to like come in and chat with me on the live stream. I just wanted to kind of put out ideas. People have also suggested that like I play like a casual game. That's not something I'm opposed to. But for me, like the live streams are a lot about like building like a community and an audience and really wanting to just see what all you wanted. If you really are fine with me sitting here talking about things, I can do that. I can come up with things that I can talk about for a long time. It's just so strange to be talking at a camera and not obviously there's chat, which I would be so dead in the water without chat. Um, but yeah, I just wanted kind of feedback or suggestions on what might make a compelling stream for you all, like what might be entertaining. Because there's a few different ideas that I've been kind of bouncing back and forth on. Because I really do like streaming. It's like something I want to continue doing weekly. And Another thing that I've been considering is maybe streaming more frequently on something like Twitch, but that might be a little bit longer, more of a distant plan. Maybe something I start next month or like maybe in June, streaming more frequently on something like having my weekly live streams on YouTube every week on the weekend, and maybe having a more casual stream or something like that on Twitch during the weekdays. I just don't want to like hit my subscribers with too many notifications, so I don't think I would stream super frequently here on YouTube. But it's just been something that I've been thinking about. Mason, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining the chat. How are you doing on this Easter? So did you take your med this AM then? I'm sorry you're feeling this gap in the med. That's hard. Yeah, I took it a little while ago. I do feel just like a bit off. I was feeling very buzzy and and it's resulted in me feeling kind of off and nervous and a bit. And whenever I start to feel nervous, I start to feel a bit like insecure, and then I get in my head and it turns into this whole thing. But I did take my meds. Um, I didn't take my other. I just realized I didn't take my other meds. I should probably take those. But Noel says, "Have you thought about doing a podcast?" I have thought about doing a podcast. It's funny because like I already feel like my videos are kind of on the edge of a podcast anyway. Because when I think about people watching my videos, I don't really think of people actually watching them. I think of people listening to them, and so I guess I don't know how much different a podcast would be from what I already create or what my live streams would be. I think maybe a potential thing I could do is make my live streams a bit more like a podcast. It's just hard because, um, excuse me, I don't watch people that make podcasts. I've never gotten into podcasts, so I don't really understand like what a podcast is. It's like kind of like how I am with Twitter. I have no idea how to use Twitter. Like I don't know what you tweet or retweet. It's like a whole subculture that I don't understand. But people have brought up podcasts to me before, and it's something I'm interested in. I think I would just need a little bit of direction. Maybe if there's like a podcast that you really like, Noel, that you can like suggest to me and something I can watch and get a feel for, then it's something I can explore. But at the moment, I do have a friend, Maddie runs this really amazing eating disorder recovery podcast called Uncovery. Maybe I can talk to her a bit. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. Ali says I love the podcast suggestion. Krista says I like conversation and interview type live streams. Um, would you be willing to expound a little bit more on what that is? Like interviews with just like random people, or like a conversation live stream? Like what is exactly does that look like? Mason says any tips to keep calm throughout the day with a positive mindset? Also Mason says also leave a like chat. What a Chad, Mason. What a base Chad. Thank you. Uh, maybe I love helping out with advice, but Mason, if you wouldn't mind, maybe like unfolding what's going on. Like, are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling nervous? Like, are there negative things you're dealing with? If you want to never feel the pressure to be reveal more than you want, but if you want to tell me a little bit more about what's going on, and then I would love to give like some feedback. But in general, well, maybe I'll wait to see if you have more details, and then I'll give more like a general approach to how I stay positive throughout the day. Nutritious Liz, I think that your videos are short, podcast like. No need to watch it if you're busy doing other things. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Moxie says, when I first found you, it was very nice seeing you in a conversation dynamic with others too. Well, Moxie, you know, if I start doing interviews, you're going to be one of the people I have on my live stream interviewing. So I hope you're okay with that. Lewis says, I don't know if it's Lewis or Luis. Correct me if I'm saying it wrong. I'm gonna go with Luis. That would be a great idea. You could have your close friend, if you feel comfortable, and ask them what it's like from their point of view, the journey you've made so far. That would be a really cool suggestion. There's definitely some friends that could have a really cool perspective. I one of the nice things is I have so many friends that used to be subscribers and so many friends doing really cool things with their life. So if that would be something that you would all not hate or you'd like, there are definitely some people I could bring on. Another person, usually Annabelle Strings and Pedals, is in the chat. I think she might be busy today, but she's another person that I've kind of talked to about this idea. So I think that would be cool. And then it would be hard to moderate it, but I would also be interested in maybe like bringing in like interviewing or having conversations with subscribers if they feel comfortable. Once again, these I'm just trying to get ideas and work towards those ideas at the moment, and so I really appreciate like all this feedback and you all engaging with this and helping me out. It means the world to me. Krista says, I use YouTube as a podcast. It plays in the background while I'm doing other things. Yes, exactly. That's me through and through. Like, because I have ADHD, or I don't know what it is. Maybe it's trauma. Maybe it's PTSD. Maybe it's ADHD. I don't, who knows which of the alphabets it is. But, I always have YouTube playing in the background, and I use YouTube kind of like a podcast where I really like, for me, content, like the longer the content, the better. I will listen to like people make 1 to 2 hour long videos talking about like movies or games or this or that. And I always listen to YouTube. I rarely ever watch it. And especially at work, I work this really boring job where I stock shelves. And during part of my shift, I'm able to have one earbud in. So I also kind of just use YouTube as like a purely audio thing. I rarely ever actually watch YouTube. Generally having a theme or topic in mind, using an outline to guide start the convo, but opening it up to conversation with viewers, also bringing your friends on the chat with you. Ali says, I think hosting guests is a good way to bring in other people's perspective and experiences. Yeah, I completely agree. And it would be a lot more spin the wheel of diagnosis. So where it lands, nobody knows. Yeah, there's probably ones I don't even know that I have. Yeah, being neurodivergent. But yeah, I think you've given me a lot to think about. I think it would be really cool to bring on people that feel comfortable. Because another thing that's been really cool is like how intelligent and self-aware some of you all, not some of you, that sounds so phrasing. What's been really cool is some of you in your comments will be so self-aware and so expressive and so vulnerable and really amaze me. It always amazes me just like the length and degree to which other people have gone through similar experiences. Allie's been a really great example because she left these really amazing and vulnerable comments about a similar experience that she had. And what was really cool is although the underlying thing that she dealt with, and I'm not gonna out Allie's thing here, but although there was some key differences, there were so many things that were relatable. And so I definitely think it would be fun or interesting at least to bring in those kind of people with these like really interesting stories who also have their own like massive amounts of self-awareness. Finding a way to do it successfully would be a bit of a challenge, but definitely something I'm interested in. Moxie says, oh yeah, I've seen people do this. You could have a live with a friend and discuss the topic, and later in the live, if there's function for it, bring on audience members too. Yeah, that would be cool. Something I definitely want to explore as I continue to grow and maybe have more people come into the lives. Lewis says, at some point you could do a review. At some point you could do a collaboration with other YouTube channels with related topics. FYI, you were saying my name. Okay, laugh out loud. Yeah, I've. It's kind of hard to find other YouTube channels that are like my size that talk about stuff, but I think in the future, if I were to grow, I think it would be really cool to like talk to other creators. Anna's a good example of another creator that maybe I can bring on and have conversations about how we view mental health topics in general. Um, while I'm in between here, I think I'm gonna jump back to Mason's. Any tips to keep calm throughout the day with a positive mindset? Um, Like I said, it really kind of depends on what I'm struggling with. But one thing that has really helped me out and something I want to make a video on is keeping in mind like how short everything's gonna feel. I have this thing that I called like the blink observation, and the blink observation kind of goes like it's this observation I made about life where I'll notice that like I'll be going through something really difficult, and there will always be this point where I will look back on the difficult thing I've gone through, and everything will feel like it's gone by in the blink of an eye. And so an example is my last relationship was super traumatic, and I remember being in that relationship and I thought it would never end. And then what feels very weird is that despite how much I can remember it feeling like it was never going to end, it did end. And not only did it end, it ended years ago at this point, and it all feels like it passed by in the blink of an eye. Or another example, something maybe a bit more relatable, is I hate my job, and I always dread going in. But something that I constantly remind myself is like I remind myself like before I know it, I'm gonna be walking out to my car and my shift is gonna be over, and I'm gonna look back on that shift and it's gonna feel like wow, that passed by in the blink of an eye. And so something that has really helped me stay grounded and calm no matter how difficult a thing I'm facing is really putting a perspective on like this moment is truly temporary. And even though it feels like it's taking forever, like I know without a shadow of a doubt there's going to be a moment where I'm on the other side of it. And not only there's going to be a moment where I'm on the other side of it, but like all of this crap that I'm going through will feel like it happened instantly. And so I just keep that moment in mind and then push for that moment. And then when I do find myself in that moment, I take a moment to really let that sink in. Like I gave with the work example, I relish that like minute long walk out to my car, and I really remind myself like, see, I told you like as much as you hate work, like that was it's gone, it's done, it's over with, and it passed all so quickly, and now we're on to the next thing. And so that's something that's I probably the biggest thing I use day to day is just trying to really remind myself of how temporary things are, and how like no matter what I'm going through it ends. Like no matter how hard what I'm going through is, it will end at some point. Because like the way I learned this lesson, like I said, was like I was in this 3 year really horrific relationship, and I just remember so clearly being like, this is never gonna end and I'm never gonna escape this. And sure enough, it did end. And the same with my depression and suicidality. Like I remember so clearly thinking, like this will never end. Like I'm always gonna feel this way. And somehow, through a lot of hard work, I'm on the other side of it. And so I have a lot of proof now in my life that like these things are transitory and temporary. And so if I had to give any piece of advice, it would be that is to really hone in that no, this is temporary and it will pass. And I know there's a bit of that that's a bit cliched and goes into that saying like this too will pass. But the big difference of just that more normative kind of cliched piece of advice is that piece of like it will feel like it passed by in a blink of an eye. Like years of my life I feel like it's passed by so quickly. So that's I guess the advice I would give. Oh, okay. I get a feeling of nervousness and overwhelm throughout the day. It happens sometimes with no reason at all, but I have other issues, but it might stem from undiagnosed ADHD or another disorder. Um, yeah, that in my video talking about like the burden of struggling, I just released it. The video talking about mental health, dealing with mental illnesses and chasing for success. One of the biggest things is difficult is when we have undiagnosed disorders, because we misattribute them as a product of being like lazy or something being wrong with us. So if you have an something undiagnosed like ADHD, which is pretty, I mean, I don't know what it's like to be not ADHD. I do know what it's like to be ADHD, and it really can kind of mess with your life. Or like for instance, like when I didn't know I was bipolar, it was really difficult because I was dealing with these things and not knowing it was bipolar, and it really freaked me out. And so on that case, if you do suspect that you might have ADHD or maybe something else,
as an American, I think you're American Mason, but I know how hard it is to get help for mental health stuff. But I would suggest maybe trying to find a way to look into that, because getting diagnosed with both ADHD and bipolar was pretty life changing for me. And I'm so glad I went about finding out for sure. Krista says, blink of an eye. I like that perspective. Mason sees the blink perspective. That sounds very relatable. Might help. I'll give it a try. Lisa M sends that back. And then Shakira, hi, with the family, but wanted to stop in and say hi. You missed me hyping you up earlier, Shakira. I brought you up. Talked about our combo, talking about like how much your life has changed, talked about how much I value you. Shout out to Shakira being an amazing friend and former subscriber turned friend. So hey, Shakira, tell your family I said hi. Uh, have a good day. Yeah, that's I always forget that you're a part of the Discord, but yeah, that same Shakira, Lisa. The funny Shakira that gives me crap all the time. Holly says, I used to work a job I absolutely hated, and the only thing that kept me sane during work was telling myself I'm going to quit as soon as this shift is over every single day. I sometimes fantasize about quitting my job. I fantasize that like something that kind of helps me with other goals in my life is like when I don't really want to work on, say, something like YouTube or coding or whatever difficult thing is in my life. Um I fantasize about like getting to the other side of things and like quitting this job that I have and being like, I don't need you anymore. No, well, I wouldn't do any good to pop back in the cord because I don't exist in my own Discord. I have a lot of, I truthfully have a lot of shame and a lot of weird feelings about my Discord, because like creating a Discord was definitely the product of a manic moment and something that I thought I really wanted to do, and then I had a few snags, and then excuse me, I fell out of my very manic episode and back into depression, and I was like, do I want to? I'm dealing with a lot of really heavy stuff in my life right now. Can I manage a Discord? Aw, I was just wondering about you right before East returned not long ago. How the heck are you? Uh, Great advice. Nutritionist Liz says check out the Hamilton Anxiety Scale. Not trying to help diagnose, but it may give you some insight as to whether anxiety is an issue for you. Yeah, Mason, especially like the feeling anxious and overwhelmed and nervous for no reason at all sounds maybe like you're struggling with like a bit of anxiety disorder or something. I mean, what do I know? I can't diagnose you. And um but I feel like especially having those feelings and not feeling like a source for them is like hallmarks of more anxiety disorder, because like one of the things I don't really struggle with per se is anxiety, um well, anxiety disorders, because like a lot of my anxiety is like rooted in something. But like you said, maybe it can also be a product of not knowing you're struggling with something, because like for instance, a lot of my anxiety and nervousness is about struggling to cope with my ADHD and my inability to direct and my attention and attention. Oh, is that the skill they use in like the therapy practices? Yeah, Liz, you mentioned that you have GAD, and generalized anxiety disorder. Ali says, I have ADHD and anxiety, and I often feel extremely overwhelmed and nervous out of nowhere. ADHD and anxiety definitely feel like they make each other worse. Yeah, I would definitely say that's true with all kind of mental illnesses like ADHD and bipolar. There's a lot of comorbidity. One of the videos that I kind of have planned but don't really have a release date for it is talking about the comorbidity of ADHD and PTSD. Lisa says, I've had anxiety most of my life and got diagnosed with OCD and anxiety disorder when I was in high school. What's your experience of being having OCD like, Lisa, or Liz, what's generalized anxiety disorder like for you? One of my close friends has generalized anxiety disorder as well, and I don't know. I really sympathize watching them like quickly have these spirals into these like kind of intense emotions and stuff like that. And so dealing with, especially like anxiety that doesn't have a source, would be really difficult, because like one of the things I've talked about with a different friend is like they struggle with SI or like suicidal ideation, and like they don't have a reason, and that would be really difficult, because one of the things I've always felt, I guess, lucky in is that everything I've ever really, besides well, okay, no, besides bipolar, but a lot of the things I've struggled with had like direct causes, like it made sense why I was going through it, and even if it was really overwhelming or out of my control, it would be really hard to not have that, the logic behind it. Mason says, already got it saved on my YouTube list. I'll look into it. Thank you. Aw. OCD is hell. I don't even want to begin unpacking it. It scares me and makes me angry, to be honest. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, like you're describing it as literally hell. And if you ever want to talk to me about it one on one, once again, my DMs are always open, Lisa. Krista says, I have generalized anxiety disorder, ADHD, complex PTSD, and I'm autistic. It's a spicy world. Krista, you may need to hit me up sometime, because I want to talk more about your experience of autism, because like there are some things with autism that feel, it's so hard in this day and age, because like you'll like watch TikToks or Instagram and you'll be like, I relate to that, and like like things I know I definitely don't have. It's really hard because like there's so much relatability that you can start like self-diagnosing, and that's like a dangerous thing to get into, is when you start like deciding for yourself what you have. But like being being a touch autistic, well, I want to be careful on how I talk about this. I don't want to be cavalier. There are things that have made me feel like maybe I'm a bit on the spectrum somewhere, so maybe reach out to me sometime, because it'd be interesting to hear your experiences of being autistic, because one of my I do have this funny story with Annabelle Strings and Pedals. She's a person I interviewed, and we talked about this a bit on a previous stream. But it was really funny because the one of the only people I interviewed on my channel, and I interviewed her about having bipolar type 2. And it's so funny because like when I was doing the interview, I was like, "Oh, this would be so hard," and I sympathize, but I obviously I can't empathize because I'm not bipolar. And lo and behold, it turns out I was bipolar, and she had a sneaking suspicion that I was bipolar. And then what was even funnier though is I'm diagnosed with ADHD, and then she kind of had this feeling like maybe I have ADHD too, and we were talking back and forth, and I was like, I hate to break it to you, but you definitely have ADHD. And she just got like a hardcore diagnosis of like, she went through all these like tests and all these things because she lives in the Netherlands. So she's super ADHD, or like definitely has ADHD. And so it's funny because the other thing that they suspect she might have is autism. And I was like, oh man, is this my sign that I should go get tested for autism as well? But that's a long rambling story of yeah, during the East. I can only imagine. I don't know what that would be like, or oh, I can't relate to hypomania at all. Um, but it's also one of the things I really struggle with is like the reason I didn't think I was bipolar for the longest time is like I would see the most extreme examples of people, especially with bipolar type 1. Um, and I'd be like, well, I've never experienced mania like that, so I must not be bipolar. And so I think it's hard when you look at these examples of people with very extreme cases, like Kanye is the example I always use. That's a very extreme example of someone going through mania. And I think with autism, it's a bit hard because, like, a show I really like is Love on the Spectrum. And when you see these examples of people dealing with particularly intense forms of autism, it can be really easy to be like, well, those aren't struggles I have, and so I must not have it, or um, I'm pretty well functioning, so I must not be on the scale. So one of the things I struggle with is like I often look too much at the very intense forms of things, and it can be hard to take apart because of that. It's so common to have a lot of comorbidities, exactly. And then I was reading the body keeps the score, and then that's a whole separate topic. I'm not even gonna jump into it. Lewis says OCD is difficult to deal with. For me, when things in life were getting out of control, it's when it triggered my ED due to my anxiety for not feeling in control of the situation. Yes, exactly. Uh, okay. Also, there's a link between my OCD and my disordered eating instincts in my brain. I don't have a lot of disordered eating in my past, but definitely have thought patterns. Is it in the form of like orthorexia, or like these like very intense feelings about what you're allowed to eat, or if you don't mind talking about like how does those thought patterns emerge? In a real me with every diagnosis of mine, always invalidating my experiences. Surely I don't have this. Yeah, it can be really tough when you look at people with more extreme versions of what you have and then be like, well, like that's a really extreme version of it. I must not also have that. That's something I struggle with is invalidating my experiences by um, going to like the worst case scenarios and be like, okay, well, that's not me. Also, sorry for my S key. I have no S key on my keyboard and have to copy and paste it. Well, how about you use a 5? You can use the 5. Hit me with well, or another letter. Z? You can start using Z's and I'll just translate that into S's. There's no need to copy and paste the S. Oh my word, that would be so tedious. Yeah, Moxie, I agree. And the last thing I wanted to ask advice about really quickly, yeah, no, definitely, oh no, is, well, hold on, I want to address Lisa's comment. Trigger warning: eating disorders. I'm very prone to orthorexic thoughts. The moment I try to lose weight, oh, I immediately get anxious and think I'm too much and kind of go orthorexia like one half. Um, yeah, thank you for the trigger warning. Man, talking about this topic is difficult when you don't know where your audience is at. So I want to be really careful here. But dealing with orthorexic thoughts can be really intense, especially if you have something like OCD and getting like struggling very, very difficult with like what you allow yourself to eat or not eat. That can, I don't know, that just sounds like hell. Um, yeah. So the last thing I wanted to ask about on my agenda here is if you want more details, feel free to DM me on Discord. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Let me see if I still. Oh my word. Okay. Yeah, I still have you on Discord. So the last thing I wanted to ask about was like someone brought up playing a casual game, and I wanted to know whether that would be distracting or not. There are a few like casual games that I could probably play and still manage the conversation. I know the streamers that I do watch tend to be playing something, but I don't know how important that is or isn't. But yeah, the games would have to be super casual. They have to be pausable. They would have to be something that I can like still do while talking to you all, because like the main focus for me obviously is building relationships and having conversations and stuff like that. But it was something that someone had brought up on a previous stream, and not something that I'm against, like having something in the background to sort of um, do while I'm talking to you all. Also, I'm using Control V for my. I'm using Control V for my S key. I've been doing it for a while because it's broken, so it's instinctive at this point. Each morning, I have to go find a lowercase s somewhere to copy it. So, like your keyboard on like a real world keyboard. I'm being so blonde here about this, but either way, that would be super tedious to deal with. Let's have our discussions while you play Mortal Kombat. Laugh a lot. Just kidding. Yeah, some kind of calm and cozy game would work well. That route. My physical laptop keyboard has no S key because I broke it. That I'm laughing at the Mortal Kombat thing, but can you get a replacement key? One of my keyboards has no F, no, not F, has no 5 key, and it's super annoying because I don't ever need the 5 key until I do, and it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, this doesn't work anymore. This sucks. So I go find an S key each morning and go Control C, then Control V every time I need. So it's probably just like automatic for you at this point. It's probably just like the way you type. I mean, yes, but it's majorly broken. I have to just go. Oh, okay. Um, man, especially on your laptop, that would that would suck. In all seriousness, one of the game I'll maybe there's this game that I might buy and test out next Sunday when I stream, called like Mini Motorways, Mini something, but it's a super casual game that I might have in the background. At this point, when I use other people's computers, my brain thinks Control V is S. It's so confusing. Yeah, I've been recently getting into touch typing and trying to be better at it since I script so much, since I type a lot. And I'm just imagining how long that would take to get used to, and then how hard it would be to break that trend once you've gotten used to it. Not as long as you think. Not as long as you think. I'm not looking forward to having to retrain. It's gonna feel silly to like properly use an S key again. Yeah, that would feel. I would feel weird to feel weird about using the S key. Well, I'm gonna start wrapping up since it's around 7. I didn't know if there was like any kind of final thoughts anyone had, any kind of final suggestions, any other kind of how you're doing at the moment. Yeah, open the floor to you all. As I slowly wrap up, I think I'm gonna go take a quick little walk, and enjoy the last bit of the weather before it gets cold. And enjoy the rest of my Easter. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Easter. Krista says it's been super awesome to catch a live. It's been super awesome to have you as well. It means a lot. Like I really like building these relationships, and thank you so much for taking the time to leave replies. I totally support people that lurk and just like listen in the background. Um, it means a lot to me whether you are commenting or not. But thank you for engaging with me. Thank you for being vulnerable about your own diagnosis and having the willingness to maybe talk about your experience of autism with me. That would be super interesting. Uh, I don't know if I'm ready to add another diagnosis, so it might be something I explore, it might not be. Who knows? But thank you so much, Mason. I did hear a weird thing about people having ADHD or autism is they do the same routine or watch the same movies because it helps with their life being predictable and not expecting much. Sarah H, how's it going? Thanks from Australia. I don't think you've popped up yet, but thank you so much for stopping by, Sarah. And it is late where you are, I think, isn't it, in the AMs? But it means so much that you spent time with me. I appreciate it. Oh, oh. I forgot to take my other medication. I should probably do that. It's my antidepressant though, so it's not as important. Uh, thank you for reminding me of that. I really do need to go take that. Uh, Lita says, "Thanks, Chris. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Once again, I appreciate all your comments recently and your feedback. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by the stream. Thank you, everyone, to stopping by the stream. It means the world to me, spending time with me on Easter, giving me your feedback, interacting with me. Any of it. I feel so incredibly grateful and lucky, and I'm always going to be overly emphatic about that at the end of my at the end of my streams. Important, yes. Bye, East. See ya, Moxie. Uh, Sarah H says, "I've been lurking for years. It's nearly 9 a.m. here." Well, I hopefully it's you waking up and not you being up all night. But thank you for lurking. I appreciate it. Mason says, "Thanks again. See you, Mason. Have a good evening." I think where you're at. Krista says, "Have a wonderful evening. Same to you." Lisa M. Bye. Thank you so much for stopping by and bearing with your Control V of an S key. Bubbles Rumble, you're lurking in the background as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's good to see you again. Yeah, I'm gonna go make dinner. Thank you so much for everyone. Have a good evening. Have a good rest of your Easter. Thank you so much.